Here is my video on Venus and Aries. Let me just share my screen. All right. So this is for people who have Venus in Aries, and also for those people that have Venus in the first house. Some of what I'm saying could apply to you, as well as for those who have Venus in aspect to Mars or Venus in aspect to a planet in Aries. So if you've seen my other Venus through the signs videos, you know I like to start off with a quote. So this is from the Four Laws of Pele, Goddess of Fire. The lava will always flow in order to create new land. Lava will always migrate to new spots. Emphasis on the word new, because Aries is about keeping things fresh and new. A key word that I chose for Venus in Aries is authenticity. So it says here, requires us to know ourselves and to continually meet ourselves again and again as we transform throughout our life. So Venus and Aries individuals, they could be looking for a partner who is authentic, who is basically who they say they are, who is not putting on airs, basically the type of person where what you see is what you get. Another key word is originality. So Aries is the sign of originality. So when I think about Venus and Aries, I think about original art, original music, original style. Venus and Aries individuals are great at motivating people to succeed, to go after their dreams, to just do it. Now, if you have Venus and Aries, you could attract mates who will motivate you to try harder, to try new things, and also to be more courageous, more daring. The saying having the hots for someone is very Venus and Aries. Also, the saying being hot to try. Now, Venus and Aries individuals may attract a near carbon copy or clone of themselves due to being intolerant of the differences between people. Now, that's one of the reasons why Venus is in detriment when in Aries. Detriment basically meaning that Aries is not a sign that's very conducive to Venus energy. And that's because Aries is the opposite sign of Libra, the sign that Venus rules. So the more you have in common with someone, if you have Venus and Aries, the better. So you could attract a mate that's very much like you. You have common interests. Makes me think of my stepfather who has Venus and Aries. He's an Aries with Venus and Aries, and he's an Aries rising. So he got with my mom, who is an Aries rising as well, and they're very compatible. So with him being a Venus in Aries, attracting a woman with Aries rising makes a lot of sense, and it definitely worked out for him. Now, men that have Venus and Aries may be attracted to tomboys. And the women with Venus and Aries, they may have a tomboyish style, especially when they're younger. Also, Venus and Aries individuals may be attracted to the bad girl, bad boy. Also, attracted to tough chicks. Some Venus and Aries men are attracted to chicks with dicks. Shout out to Eddie Murphy. Or you could say those lady boys. The term lady boy is very Venus and Aries, by the way. Now, Venus in Aries is essentially girl power. So don't expect these women to take a back seat to a man. And some of them might even challenge a man's manhood, might even emasculate a man. Now, Venus in Aries is a lover of the chase. And for a lot of men with Venus in Aries, that's all it's about, basically. So once the chase is over, they can quickly lose interest. Now, Venus and Aries individuals approach new relationships with enthusiasm. They get all head over heels over a new love interest. And that initial feeling of new love gets them pumped up, gets them excited, makes them passionate. So yeah, that whole love at first sight, or just that initial spark that's created between two people that have some compatibility, Aries is all for it. but they could quickly lose interest once the passion and excitement fades, and then they'll be running for the door. Now, boredom is one of the main reasons why Venus and Aries will lose interest. So, you definitely want to be that type of partner that's going to be upbeat, that's going to be willing to try new things, be adventurous, exciting. Not saying you have to be like that every day, but you definitely don't want to be that type of person that's prone to stagnation and always doing the same thing over and over again. Now, once the monotony of a relationship sets in, a Venus and Aries individual could become quite defensive, disagreeable, and disruptive. And it could be just to alleviate boredom. And people with Venus and Aries, you could attract a mate that's like this. So once that honeymoon period's over, you might find that they could become very defensive, disagreeable, and disruptive. Venus and Aries individuals won't back down from a confrontation. So you can say this is a conflict oriented Venus. And Venus and Aries can produce the couple that's always beefing. So this could be the type of Venus that does the breakup to makeup simply because the makeup part is going to be very much like that initial meeting where there's that spark, there's that excitement, there's that passion. So renewal is a big part of Venus and Aries. So don't be surprised if you have Venus and Aries that you're doing this whole breakup to makeup thing, and know that it's because Venus and Aries is attracted to things that are new. So with each renewal stage, it's like that passion becomes reignited. And Tamar Braxton, who's right here, she has Venus and Aries, and she was always beefing with Vince when she was married to him. So she's a perfect example. Now, Venus and Aries individuals can be savage with the comebacks and the clapbacks. So if you get into a conflict with them, watch out because they could tear you a new one. Also, like I said, Venus and Aries is that conflict oriented Venus. So when conflict arises, don't be surprised if they start pulling out the guns and the knives and the weapons and stuff. I'm not saying, this is going to be everybody with Venus and Aries, but some of them do get down like this. And some Venus and Aries people could be destroyers of things. So anger could get out of control. Next thing you know, they're flipping over a desk, punching a hole in the wall. Venus and Aries individuals could attract mates that might tear up their shit during an argument or during a breakup, slashing tires and shit like that, keying cars, breaking out windows. Now, some Venus and Aries people like playing with fire, so to speak, basically meaning seeking out mates who will bring an element of danger into the mix. Venus and Aries individuals don't like to be kept waiting, and they hate it when people beat around the bush. If they want something, they want it now. So let's say a Venus and Aries woman, she wants, maybe a piece of jewelry or something. If her man is taking a long time to get it, she might get it herself. And then, you know, waving in his face like, look, I had to get this myself because you wanted to drag your feet trying to get me what I want. And then next thing you know, they beefing again. Venus and Aries does not like things to be complicated, and that includes those people that say it's complicated when they're talking about their relationship, meaning like they could be going through a divorce or they could still be living with somebody, but they're not really together. Venus and Aries typically don't have time for that type of shit. So they really try to stay away from situations that are complicated. So keeping it simple is what they need. Venus and Aries individuals can attract mates who are selfish, but some people with Venus and Aries could be quite selfish themselves. So if you're attracting mates who are very selfish, you may need to take a look at yourself to see how selfish you are too. Venus and Aries is not really conducive to sharing. Basically, these are the kids that were screaming, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine, when they were, playing with other kids, and they might have even grabbed another kid's toy, talking about, it's mine. The leader of the pack. So Venus and Aries reminds me of that couple that likes to ride on motorcycles together, where they lead an active lifestyle. Now, the women may need a mate who is a boss in his own way, who is strong, brave, and even a little rough around the edges. Venus and Aries individuals attract partners who insist upon being in the driver's seat. Now, allowing the wrong person to take the wheel can result in going right over a cliff. And there may be conflicts over who is in the driver's seat. So Venus and Aries individuals themselves, they may want to be in the driver's seat, but they could attract somebody who wants to be in the driver's seat as well. So again, that whole conflict oriented type of Venus comes into play with this situation. Venus and Aries people are about that hustle. Now, they could have a 9 to 5 and have a hustle on the side. Making money independently is very Venus and Aries. And they could have a hustle on the side because of impulsive spending. So impulsive spending could be a problem. This is Floyd Mayweather, and he does have Venus and Aries, and he is always throwing money around, making it rain on strippers and stuff. So you could get into financial trouble by being too quick to spend your money. So Venus and Aries individuals may get paid on Friday, but be broke by Monday. Now, when it comes to foods, some Venus and Aries folks have a love for spicy foods, hot sauce, red hot chili peppers, and they tend to have simple tastes. Like Venus and Aries reminds me of the couple that rather go to a bar and watch the game while they're eating hot wings and drinking beer, as opposed to going to a fine restaurant and eating gourmet food. So a lot of Venus and Aries individuals could have rather simple tastes when it comes to food, but they could also be rather courageous when it comes to their palate, being willing to try new foods. Now, you or your partner could have a habit of burning or overcooking food. So, if you are that type of Venus and Aries person that's always burning stuff, you might want to leave the cooking up to somebody else, or you could attract a mate who's always burning stuff. Now, Venus and Aries individuals always need to try to exercise the golden rule. Golden rule is treating others the way you want to be treated. And that's because Venus in Aries is prone to rudeness, crudeness, and inconsiderateness. Venus and Aries individuals are fighters for justice. They may have to fight for justice at various times in their lives. And they don't mind sticking up for other people as well. Venus and Aries can result in attracting a mate who is a butcher. So this is from Brady Bunch, and that's Sam, who was Alice's boyfriend. Alice was the maid in Brady Bunch. So I was thinking Alice must have had Venus and Aries for her to attract a butcher. Sam was always talking about meat too. I think he was talking about his own meat. I think those were what do you call it, sexual innuendo. Or you could attract a barber or an engineer, because Aries is the sign of engineering. So you might be making your money through engineering or barbering or being a butcher or anything dealing with sharp tools, hot tools, or you could attract a mate who's in an Aries related profession. Welder is another profession. So you could attract a mate who is a welder or an iron worker, a firefighter, a tree trimmer. Or you could attract a mate who served time in the military, or maybe they're currently in the military, especially the Army and the Marines. Now, if your mate is an artist, he could be a sculptor and he could be sculpting nice things for you. Shoot, he could be making furniture for you. Now, when I think of Venus and Aries, I think about that couple that's out at the park and the guy pulls out his pocket knife and carves his initials into the tree. Carves him and his girlfriend's initials into the tree. That's very Venus and Aries. And a lot of those fire eaters and the people that be playing with fire for entertainment, they probably have Venus in Aries or Venus in the first house or an aspect with Mars. Here is Venus in Aries style. So here we have Janet Jackson. Here are a few of her looks. As you can see, there's this edginess to that Venus in Aries style. Even this red dress she's wearing is rather edgy, especially with that thick black belt around the waist and it's low cut where you can see her cleavage and all that. So yeah, Venus and Aries women, they can produce that vamp type of look. And here we have Pharrell Williams demonstrating his Venus and Aries style. Not saying that all men with Venus and Aries are going to dress like this, but this is how he gets down. This one right here where he's wearing the leather jacket, that's very Venus and Aries. When I think of Venus and Aries, I think of leather. Now let's get into some Venus and Aries celebrities. So we have Eddie Murphy. He's an Aries with Venus in Aries, trine Uranus. That makes him a big time celebrity because Uranus is in Leo. Also, he has Venus square Saturn, which can produce challenges in relationships, also challenges with money as well. And he does have a lot of kids, so that makes sense. Venus opposing the Arabic part of bondage. That makes me think of that relationship he was in with Scary Spice. Why can't I remember her name? Um, the black chick that was in the Spice Girls. He got into a relationship with her, had a baby with her, but then tried to deny that the baby was his. I'm not sure if he was still married to Nicole Murphy at the time. Y'all let me know if y'all remember this. But I think he denied that the baby was his. She went to get the paternity test, came back that it was his. So he was on the hook for child support. Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown is an Aquarius with Venus in Aries. Venus is conjoined to his North Node. That very much is indicative of the relationship he was in with Whitney Houston because they were always beefing. So Venus is conjoined to his North Node and Chiron. It's opposing Uranus, which is another aspect that could be hard on relationships. Venus opposition Uranus and also Jupiter. But Venus opposition Uranus in particular also deals with him breaking away from New Edition and becoming a solo artist. Venus and Aries can produce that solo artist that breaks away from a group. Also, he has Venus sextile Mercury, Venus trine Neptune, and Venus semi-square Sun. That Venus trine Neptune is good for music, also dancing, and he was very much about dancing. Venus sextile Mercury, I'm wondering, did he write some of his own songs? Like, did he write Tenderoni? I'm not sure. If you believe in love and know that it can do for you. My voice ain't right today. Robin Thicke. Guess what his sign is? Take one guess. That's right, Pisces. The feet all in his face. Now he's a Pisces with Venus in Aries. His Venus is conjoined to the South Node and Chiron. Also, it's opposing the Arabic part of commerce and his ascendant. And that makes me think of the lawsuit that he was involved in when he put out that song, Blurred Lines, and he was using that beat from Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up song. Well, Marvin Gaye's sister, I believe, she sued him. And I believe she won. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she won. So that makes me think of the legal issues that he was in involving that song. And with Venus conjoined to his South Node and Chiron and Aries, that could point to karmic debt involving a lack of originality. Like with that Venus and Aries conjoined to the South Node, he's supposed to be original. But the minute he strayed away from that, legal issues. Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman. Wait a minute. What is his sign? Hold on. Dennis Rodman is a Taurus with Venus and Aries squaring his ascendant and semi-square with Pisces. That semi-square with Pisces South Node points to him being a cross-dresser. And then he had Venus trine Uranus, which means that he's very comfortable just being this alternative type of dude, being the type of dressing very androgynous. Oh, he also has a bad skin disorder now. So it makes sense with that Venus and Aries squaring the ascendant. because his skin is bad. Like, you gotta look up some recent pictures of him. I don't know what's going on with his skin on his face, but it looks like it's super dry. It's starting to look like he got that like alligator skin, but it's probably from years of doing drugs, especially heroin, because I believe heroin does come out, and drinking too. So might have that drinking face. Floyd Mayweather Jr., he is a Pisces with Venus and Aries, trine Neptune. That can make him really good in the boxing ring, like just moving around, not allowing himself to get hit. He has Venus opposition Pluto, so he could run into some money problems. He could get sued at some point, so he needs to be careful. He has Venus semi-square Sun, which can be a little challenging for relationships. And he has Venus parallel Ceres, so I'm wondering if he was separated from his mother when he was young. So let me know if y'all know that. I don't got time to look at his bio, but he's definitely about, just flaunting his money. Tamar Braxton. She is a Pisces with Venus and Aries conjoined to her Aries South Node and Chiron, sextile moon, and Mars. That Venus sextile moon points to her being part of the Braxtons, the musical family. And Venus conjoined to that South Node can be very hard for relationships. As you know, if you saw her in action with Vince, they were always beefing, like I said. Her Venus is retrograde, which means that she could be approaching relationships with a hidden agenda. And I do believe that Vince is gay, and she might be a lesbian as well. I wouldn't be surprised if she is. Gucci Mane. So Gucci Mane has his Venus in quincunx with Jupiter. So I'm looking at that because his Jupiter's in Virgo. I'm looking at that as where he probably pays for sex, or he probably feels like he has to buy love. And he might have people always asking him for money. So his generosity could constantly be tested. But that can also point to issues with his freedom, because wasn't he locked up? And then he has Venus square moon, which can produce challenges in relationships, um, starting with his mother. I meant to say challenges with relationships with women, starting with his mother. But what is his sign? Gucci Mane is an Aquarius. Morgan Freeman. So Morgan Freeman, I believe he's a Gemini with his Venus in Aries. He has Venus squaring Pluto and Jupiter. So Venus square Pluto in Cancer, Venus square Jupiter in Capricorn. That creates this T square formation in his chart. And that explains why he has these moles on his face. Well, they're not really called moles, they're lesions, but there's a name for this disorder. And I did a little research on it. It affects about 20% of the population. If I'm not mistaken, maybe less than that, but especially people of color. And that Venus square Pluto in particular is dealing with the fact that it's coming from his genetics. And I did read that this disorder of the skin is genetic. So that Venus square Pluto in Cancer, square Jupiter in Capricorn, Venus in Aries. Aries deals with the fates, and Morgan Freeman's Venus is in the first house, reinforcing the fates. So if you wanted to know why he has this going on astrologically, it's dealing with this T square between Venus, Pluto, and Jupiter. And with Jupiter and Capricorn, Capricorn deals with the skin. So there you go. So you could look at that as like a form of hyperpigmentation. And with Jupiter and Capricorn, you could have an excess of melanin. Tyler the Creator. So he's a Pisces with Venus and Aries. Venus is squaring his Neptune and Uranus and Chiron. So you know he has challenges with relationships. He might even run into some challenges with money. He has Venus sesame square moon, trine ascendant, and sextile Mars. That Venus sextile Mars points to him collaborating with other artists, and also where other artists have been birthed as a result of him coming on the scene, like that group, The Internet. I love that group, The Internet. I wasn't a fan of Tyler Creator. I'm still not, especially when he first came on the scene. Like, I was like, yo, this dude is all satanic with his videos and stuff, and I just wasn't feeling him. But I have to admit, there's a couple of songs that he has that aren't bad, and the acts that he's associated with, I like some of them. So yeah, he's not all that bad. With that Venus and Aries, they can be the trailblazers for other people coming behind them. Vanessa Bryant, she has Venus in Aries. She's a Taurus. So she has Venus opposing Mars and squaring Neptune, which points to that marriage that she was in with Kobe Bryant. Basically, it was like she was alone a lot of times. Makes sense because he was always on the road playing basketball. But this also could point to a relationship, especially that Venus square Neptune, where there's a bunch of infidelity, lies, deception, what have you. But Venus square Neptune can also produce the loss of a partner, sacrifice, misfortune, sorrow. She has Venus sextile Uranus, which is a money magnet aspect. Mariah Carey, she's an Aries with Venus in Aries squaring her midheaven, and Venus is running parallel to the Virgo South Node. That parallel Virgo South Node points to her being able to hit those very high notes because Virgo deals with sopranos, and also conjoined to Baton Chaotus, I guess. That's a fixed star that can point to being isolated and being depressed. And that makes me think of her marriage to Tommy Mottola because he basically controls her. He basically turned her into a life-size doll. Like she basically didn't have any freedom or control in that marriage. And I believe he was abusing her as well. So that abusiveness that comes with Venus and Aries definitely played out in her situation. Also, she was breaking up plates at her house one time. She had a nervous breakdown, and they said that she was breaking up all these plates. So the whole destructiveness factor that comes with Venus and Aries, definitely Mariah Carey. Janet Jackson is another one that has Venus and Aries. She's a Taurus with Venus and Aries conjoined to her moon. That points to her growing up in a musical family. But with that Venus and Aries, she definitely hasn't had a need to be her own artist. She also has Venus quincunx Scorpio ascendant and Uranus and Pluto. So remember, she put out that song Control back in the day because it's all about control. And I've got lots of it. Yeah. So she's always dealing with issues with control, starting with her daddy and then in relationships that she gets in. So she also has Venus running parallel to Pallas, which can deal with fighting in a relationship. So she was in that abusive relationship with Renee, and she kept that secret for years. And then she came out saying that he was beating her ass. But I wouldn't be surprised if she was bringing it as well. Jennifer Aniston. Now, Jennifer is, I believe she's an Aquarius. Let me make sure. Yeah, she's an Aquarius born February 11th. And she has Venus in Aries. Venus is conjoined to her North Node. It's in sesqui square to her Mars in Scorpio. That makes me raise an eyebrow. Venus is opposing her Jupiter and Uranus and making a semi-square with her Sun. Now, she's on my list. She's on my trans investigation list, honestly, because I believe that she may be a man. Now, some of y'all might disagree with me or whatever, but I mean, just take a look at that strong, squared off jaw. I mean, that says it all. But, and also take a look at her hands. Just watch some movies and take a look at her hands. And she was also in a movie where she was playing a man or something like that. So sometimes that'll give you clues about what a person really is or who a person really is. Lady Gaga is another one on my trans investigation list, which is why I put them back to back. And they got some similarities in their chart. So Lady Gaga is in Aries with Venus in Aries trine Mars. That makes her successful in the entertainment world. Venus trine Uranus, semi-square Jupiter and Chiron. Venus is also conjoined to her North Node. So both Jennifer Aniston and Lady Gaga have Venus conjoined to the North Node. They both have Mars conjoined to Neptune. And Mars conjoined to Neptune can deal with the dissolving of one's masculinity or where you're hiding your masculinity. So I always suspected Lady Gaga of being a man when she first came on the scene. And there was actually rumors when she first came on the scene about being a man, but then they quickly swept that under the rug. But I still believe it to this day. I even did a video on it. I did a few videos on Lady Gaga, but they're private now because they would be too controversial for a lot of people. So that's why I set them to private. But if you would like a link, I could send you a link now. If you want to see this video. No, I'm just playing. I'm not going to put it out there. But yeah, she's another one. And remember what I said about Venus and Aries? That's like the epitome of the lady boy. Big head Dame Dash. So Dame Dash, he is a Taurus with his Venus and Aries conjoined to Chiron. That could produce either relationships where there's a lot of abuse or hurt or pain, or it could produce alternative type of relationships. He also has Venus opposition Uranus, which makes me think of his split from Jay-Z and Rockefeller. He also has Venus parallel Sappho, which is an eyebrow raising aspect. He also has Venus opposition Minerva. Going back to Sappho, Sappho is an asteroid that pertains to homosexuality. So, wonder which side of the bread is buttered with him. But God, he got a big ass watermelon head. Terrence Howard. Terrence is a Pisces with his Venus and Aries conjoined to Saturn. That makes me think he's a very difficult person to deal with, very uptight when it comes to his standards. And he has Venus quincunx Pluto in Virgo. And that makes me think of what he said about how he requires his girlfriends to use baby wipes. I guess because he's a panty sniffer, being a Pisces. He also has Venus trine moon. But yeah, that Venus quincunx Pluto, I think he actually likes smelling a little funk with that Venus quincunx Pluto, but he tries to act like he don't. He probably don't like it to get too funky, but he probably like a little stank. Just a little bit. Flavor Flav. So we got Flavor Flav. He has, what is this? He's a Pisces, born on the 16th. So that makes a lot of sense that he was um, strung out on drugs for quite a while. He probably still taking them. He has Venus sextile Chiron, Venus oppositions Juno. That Venus opposition Juno is pointing to that Flavor of Love reality show that he was on. Martin Lawrence. Martin is an Aries with Venus conjoined to his sun. Venus is opposing his moon. Sesame squared Uranus and Pluto. Semi-square Saturn and conjoined to Vertex. That Vertex is a fixed star that can make somebody merciless, disagreeable, and also where they just can be cruel at times and uncaring, and they can be a punisher. And I did hear some things about Martin Lawrence when he was on the set of the Martin Lawrence show, just about how he was very difficult and he gave people a hard time. Then he was sexually harassing Tisha Campbell. So yeah. And then he just had some serious challenges involving his Venus, like Venus opposition moon. That could deal with where he's married, but they live separate lives. They even live in separate homes or sleep in separate bedrooms. He has Venus sesame square Uranus and Pluto semi square Saturn. So yeah, he doesn't have it easy with relationships. Wasn't he in a relationship with Lark Voorhees? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear my memory is picking up on that. Wasn't, and Lark Voorhees, you know she got some mental health problems. Marilyn Monroe. So Marilyn Monroe, Gemini, with her Venus conjoined to Chiron, sextile Jupiter, conjoined to Merak. Merak is a fixed star that's very fortunate. It deals with fame, riches, and also beauty. And she had Venus conjoined to the part of increase. Didn't she get married to Arthur Miller and then also Joe DiMaggio, who were very wealthy and popular? So it makes sense. She did very well in terms of relationship, like the choice of men, but she had it really hard in Hollywood because those directors was always trying to jump on her. Rihanna is a Pisces. Venus is conjoined to her moon and sextile Mercury, squaring Neptune in midheaven, quincunx Pluto, and Venus is running parallel to Procyon. Now, Venus, quincunx Pluto, and parallel Procyon can produce abusive relationships. So that makes me think of that relationship she was in with Chris Brown when she got her face beaten, and there was pictures all over the internet, all that type of stuff. And Chris Brown actually had a tattoo of her battered face. Is it on his neck? I think it's on his neck, which is really strange. But remember, like I said yesterday, remember she came out with that song, I'm so hard, so hard. And she was wearing the military gear. She was like, it was a whole military scene. And she was in one of those army tanks. She had the camouflage on with the helmet. Very Venus and Aries. Also, just think about Eddie Murphy when he put out his comedy special, Raw, which is so funny, by the way. For my younger viewers, if you've never seen Eddie Murphy's stand up show, Raw, check it out. It's hilarious. Also, he did another one before Raw called Delirious. But Raw, that's very Venus and Aries. Pharrell Williams, he's an Aries with Venus conjoined to his sun and Chiron. So he's a little strange with that Chiron influence. Um, Also opposing Uranus, squaring his Cancer South Node, and running contraparallel to the asteroid Asclepius. When I saw that Asclepius, I was like, he's probably on prescription pills. He looked like he could be a pill popper. Then when I saw that Venus is squaring his Cancer South Node, I was like, that's why he liked to dress like a female sometimes, or he likes to do the gender bending stuff. Probably because, he can't deal with the fact that he wasn't born a female in this lifetime. So he brought a lot of feminine energy over into this lifetime. I used to think he was so fine. I used to have a crush on Pharrell, but now I'm just like, when I see him now, I just feel like, ew. And what's up with that hat? That's another thing that's very Venus and Aries dealing with Pharrell. He wears a lot of hats. Even though he has a nice shaved head, he still wears a lot of hats. Now, I don't know what look he was going for with this rump ranger hat or mountie hat, but that's not cute. Robert Downey Jr., I believe he's an Aquarius. Let's see. No, he's an Aries. He's an Aries with Venus conjoined to his sun. I should have known that, seeing that Venus conjunct sun. Venus conjoined to his sun, quincunx Mars, Uranus and Pluto, Venus trine Sagittarius South Node. So with that Venus trine Sagittarius South Node, that's him being able to still be widely loved and celebrated even after he was on drugs for so many years. Like he really hit rock bottom and then was able to bounce back. So he had that renewal going on, that whole Venus and Aries, the renewal of his career. Queen Latifah, she's a Pisces with Venus conjoined to Chiron. Venus conjunct Chiron can produce alternative unions. She also has Venus opposition Uranus, makes me think of her relationship as a lesbian, but where she's not out with it. She has Venus trine Leo moon. That's where the Queen Latifah is coming from, the Queen emphasis. Venus quincunx Virgo South Node. So again, that Virgo South Node and being in quincunx to Venus makes me think that she's very uncomfortable just being out there in terms of being a lesbian. But maybe she's supposed to keep a secret in this lifetime because she does have a Pisces North Node. Sarah Jessica Parker, she has aged really badly. Now, she has Venus in Aries conjoined to her sun, sextile ascendant, conjoined to the Arabic part of profession. She has been in Hollywood for years. Like she's an OG of Hollywood. And Venus conjoined to the Arabic part of bondage. I'm wondering what's that about. Maybe she sold her soul and now she got to keep working, but the devil sure didn't help out that phase. She also has Venus opposition part of friends, so maybe she got some shady friends. Look at those hands. And last but not least, we have Bob Marley. So Bob Marley is an Aquarius, or was an Aquarius. He had Venus opposition Neptune and Chiron. That makes me think of the toe situation that he had, because he had this bad toe infection that led to his death. But some people are speculating that somebody had put like this needle or this nail in his shoe. So when he put his shoe on, it pricked his toe, and that's how he got that infection. Next thing you know, he's dying. So people are trying to say they put poison on that needle. I wouldn't be surprised, especially since he has Venus conjoined to the part of bondage. But that Venus conjunct part of bondage can also mean that, he had a hard time saying no to women. He did have a lot of women and a lot of kids. So he has Venus sextile Mercury, which is good for being a songwriter. Venus trine Moon, which is like being loved by the people, by the population. Like Venus trine Pluto, very influential in terms of music. Semi-square Sun, square Saturn. So he had a hard time just being in a relationship. So That's my Venus and Aries video. Let me know what you think. Feel free to share your Venus and Aries stories if you have Venus and Aries, or if you've been with somebody with Venus and Aries, share your stories. And I'm just going to let this play a bit so you could get your words out, so you could chat it up a little bit. I hope everybody's doing fine. And I hope you're surviving this Mercury retrograde. Queen Latifah, she got a breast reduction. I believe she got, but wait a minute, is this after the breast reduction? God damn. She's just so top heavy. Iron Man, for real. He's just a weird dude. And I think he really is conflicted sexually. But he is very talented with the beats. And remember, he was part of the group, the Neptunes. So he has Venus opposition Uranus. So again, like Bobby Brown and who else had that? That could definitely point to you breaking away from a group. So he was part of the Neptunes, and they were producers. And then he went out on his own, and then he started thinking he could be an artist. Because I'm happy, clap along if you feel. I used to crack up when you go, clap along. He swear he is a falsetto. But anyway, Rihanna, her hot ass. So remember I was talking about hot to trot. She's a hot ass, all right. Remember when Jay-Z had her do the whole good girl turn bad? She was always a bad girl with that Venus and Aries. I'm convinced. And don't she got Moon in Aquarius or something? She was never a good girl. Don't let that shit fool. Don't let that smile fool you. And she was quite mean. She could be quite mean spirited because or I'll say inconsiderate, because I'll never forget there was some girl that made a dress that looked like one of Rihanna's dresses, and she posted it on social media, and then Rihanna saw it, and Rihanna was clowning the girl because the girl wore it to the prom. And of course, the dress wasn't nowhere near as lovely as the dress that Rihanna was wearing. So Rihanna took to social media, I believe this was on Twitter, and she was clowning the girl. Venus and Aries. Martin's eyes looking kind of bloodshot. It looked like he could have problems with his eyesight. Now he does wear glasses, but his eyes could be getting worse and worse with age, like I said. But he definitely, from what's in his chart, he definitely is not good in relationships. So he's probably one of those ones that once that initial attraction wears off, he loses interest, but he'll probably try to stay in the relationship to make it work. But then he's probably all irritable and grumpy, and he starts beefs over little things. Is Flavor Flav's mouth ashy? Is that ash or is that gray hair? Like, what is that? In every picture he has, it looks like he's ashy around the mouth. I'm just like, what the hell? Get it together, Flav. But we just come to expect Flav to look like this. So I guess if it works for him, hey, this dude. I wanted to do an actual full-fledged reading, but I talked about Terrence Howard during one of my live streams, if my memory serves me correctly. He's recently gone like far into left field with this whole physics thing that he's into, and he swears he's very intelligent and all this stuff, but he don't even know what the hell he's talking about. He's talking about why can't 2 + 2 = 5? No, what did he say? This is what he basically is saying. He's saying if 1 + 1 = 2, 1 times 1 should equal 2 too. When I read that, I was like, this fool done lost his mind. That head, I can't get over it. He needs to always wear a hat because that is just not a good look. He looked like one of those is it the beluga whales with the ones that got that big old bump on their forehead? That's what he looked like. He looked like one of those beluga whales. Where's my phone so I can Google? I don't know where my phone is because I want to Google, but I think that's what they're called, the beluga whales with the big old bump on their forehead. Or he looked like he got on one of those bowler hats without the brim. Telling you, y'all, that's a man. If y'all don't believe me, you must be blind, man. But I could clearly see it, but I got the gift of sight. Like, it just amazes me how a lot of people can't see things that I find to be obvious. But that is a man. That Lady Gaga is a male to female transgender and a very successful one. So she really holding up the flag for the gang. This is another one again. And she can pass. She does a good job at passing, but because I have that gift of sight, I can see it. And it really don't even take the gift of sight. You just got to look at that jawline. Look at that squared off jawline. Now, some women just naturally look masculine. Maybe she's one of those type. But we're talking about Hollywood here, so I wouldn't be surprised if she was trans. And there's a lot of them in Hollywood that we just don't know about. And the first operation, male to female trans, I think was back in like 1949. So this has been going on for years. A lot of people just don't realize how far back this goes with people being able to transition and do it surgically. And some of these people transition as children. Wendy Williams. All right, moving along. Janet is looking bad. She needs to stop with the plastic surgery. Now she got Venus and Aries. Aries rules the nose. And with that Venus quincunx Scorpio ascendant, she's going too far with the nose surgery or like the nose jobs. She about to turn into Michael Jackson. She's looking very harsh. And it's like, it seemed like they all went to the same doctor to get that nose job. That doctor needs to be fired. He's horrible. That is an ugly ass nose. Also, that Venus quincunx Pluto could deal with, and Uranus and Pluto could deal with her changing her nose, just messing up her face. Mariah got a nice nose, even though it's a little crooked. But yeah, she's another she's a live one with her Venus and Aries, and she's an Aries sun. So who was running the show in her relationship with Nick Cannon, who's a Libra. Definitely wasn't Nick Cannon. But they probably had some things, like a lot of things in common, which is what Mariah needed with her Venus and Aries, but they still didn't work out. And I believe it was probably a business deal anyway with what's in Nick Cannon's chart. I also believe this was more so for business than for love, but I think they grew to love each other. But I think in the beginning, she was looking for a meal ticket. He was looking for a trophy wife. Now, they did meet each other when they were young, I think before he even made it into the NBA. But these women be knowing who's going to make it and stuff. They can see that shit. That's why they be hanging out at the games in high school and college. They already know. He's just a peculiar individual, but it makes sense with him being a Pisces and having Venus square Neptune and Uranus and Chiron. Just very strange individual. I really don't like Morgan Freeman. He just seems like a very mean guy. Are those dentures he has in his mouth? Because those teeth look a bit too straight. But yeah, he just seems like a mean old asshole. Never really got into Gucci Mane's music. He's really not part of my generation in terms of music anyway. Tamar just crazy as all get out. I don't think I've seen one fight of Floyd Mayweather. I just don't have any interest in him, but I'm not big into sports anyway. Dennis Rodman, one thing I forgot to say, that Venus semi-square Pisces South Node also explains why he's always crying. This dude is always crying. Give him an interview. He's going to be crying before it's over. Like, he is such a crybaby, and that's where that's coming from. Venus semi-square Pisces South Node. Do you remember when he got dressed up in a wedding dress? Basically, he was marrying himself that day, which is very Venus and Aries. But he's the type that just likes to shock people anyway. But he very much is like this, very much into cross dressing and stuff. He still will like put on a woman's tank top and do an interview. Cause I saw him in a recent interview. He had on like this sparkly top that was clearly designed for women. So he's never had any shame in his game, being an NBA star and being a cross dresser, bisexual man at the same time. He used to date Madonna on and off. But you know, Madonna is a big time freak. And Madonna has been passed around a lot of, NBA players. That's just nasty. I don't get the whole foot fetish thing, but obviously he has it being a Pisces. I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't put like a pair of panties on top of his head at the same time. He probably wanted that, but they were probably like, Robin, that's a bit too much. We can't go that far. Bobby Brown is looking bad, man. He did not age well, but it makes sense because he's been on drugs for practically half his adult life, or maybe more. Maybe his whole adult life. Is that a tattoo on his eye? Like under his eye? What is that? But he's looking bad. And then there's old freak ass Eddie. Eddie is a big time freak. I believe he's just straight up bisexual. Like he likes men and women, but he prefers his men to look like women. So there it is right there. Again, let me know what you think. I'll be back soon with my live stream for Pisces season. I'm already trying to figure out how I'm gonna do my hair. So I always gotta do my hair a certain way. It has to be very Pisces. So I'll probably have like these big curls in my hair. So stay tuned. But thanks everybody for tuning in to this premiere. And I will be back. Peace, many blessings, and I am out.